Quick question. If you could pick any month to retire, any month at all, would it actually matter? Most people assume it wouldn't. Retirement feels like a life decision, not a calendar decision. You save for decades, you hit a number, and then you just stop working, right? The month shouldn't matter. But here's the strange part. Two people in Singapore, same CPF balance, same savings, same age. One retires in January, the other retires in November. And 5 years later, their financial outcomes can look meaningfully different. Okay, let's slow down because this sounds almost unbelievable at first. Think about your own situation for a second. Maybe you're in your 30s or 40s right now, sipping kopi on a Saturday morning, thinking about that quiet future where you don't need to rush for the MRT anymore. You've got a rough retirement age in mind, 62, maybe 65. You've been contributing to CPF your whole working life. You've got some savings, maybe a bit invested in ETFs or a REIT portfolio. On paper, you feel ready. But almost nobody asks the next question. When exactly should that retirement date fall? Here's the big idea we're exploring today. The timing of your retirement, the specific month, quietly interacts with three things most people never connect: CPF payout scheduling, bonus and expense cycles, and market conditions. And depending on how those three line up, retiring in the wrong month can cost you real money, while retiring in the right month can hand you an advantage for free. Let's start with CPF because this is where it gets interesting fast. Your CPF life payouts begin from your payout eligibility age, and they arrive monthly. Simple enough. But here's what most people miss. The month you officially stop working doesn't have to match the month CPF starts paying you. There's often a gap, and that gap has to be bridged by something, usually your own cash savings. So imagine two versions of the same person. Version 1 retires in December, right after their annual bonus lands and right after year-end expenses like insurance renewals and property tax are cleared. Version 2 retires in June, right before a big lump of annual expenses hits, and months before any bonus would have arrived. Same CPF sum, same investment portfolio, but version 2 is bridging a longer, emptier gap using savings that could have stayed invested. That's the first hidden cost. It's not dramatic, it's not going to bankrupt anyone, but over years, small inefficiencies compound. And compounding, as we'll see in a moment, cuts both ways. Now here's where most people completely misunderstand this. They think the best month is about the calendar. It's actually about cash flow direction. Are you retiring right after money flows in or right before money flows out? Think about a typical Singaporean household's yearly rhythm. Bonuses tend to land around December or the Chinese New Year period. Big expenses, property tax, insurance premiums, school fees for those with children, often cluster in the first quarter. So retiring in January right after bonuses but right before that expense cluster is actually one of the most financially awkward windows. You've just been paid, but the big bills are coming and now your paycheck has stopped at the exact same time. Compare that to retiring in, say, March or April, after the first quarter expenses have cleared and before the next cycle begins. Suddenly, your first few months of retirement are lighter, less pressure, more breathing room to adjust to a new rhythm of spending without a salary behind it. But that's only half the picture. There's a second factor, and this one surprises almost everyone: market seasonality. Now, to be clear, nobody can predict short-term market movements with certainty, and anyone claiming otherwise is selling you something. But there's a well-documented behavioral pattern in how retirees interact with markets, and it's not about predicting the market, it's about sequence.
Here's the concept in plain terms. If a chunk of your retirement income depends on selling investments, say part of your portfolio in ETFs or REITs, then the order in which good and bad months happen matters enormously. This is called sequence of returns risk. Two portfolios can have the exact same average return over 10 years, but if one investor experiences a market downturn in their very first year of retirement and has to sell shares at low prices to cover expenses, their portfolio can permanently shrink faster than someone who experiences that same downturn 5 years later. So the worst month to retire isn't a fixed month on the calendar. It's whatever month happens to land you at the start of a downturn while you're forced to withdraw. And the best month is one that gives you a buffer, enough cash reserves that you're not forced to sell investments in the first uncomfortable stretch, whenever that stretch happens to occur. This is why the smartest approach isn't picking a magical month. It's building a retirement structure where the month barely matters because you've already removed the pressure points. Let's make this concrete with numbers, because vague ideas don't help anyone plan. Say someone plans to retire with $700,000 across CPF and investments. If they retire in a month that forces them to withdraw $60,000 from their portfolio during a 10% market dip, that's a real locked-in loss. That money is gone from the compounding engine forever. But if they instead have even 1 year of expenses, say $60,000, sitting in cash or short-term instruments untouched by market swings, they can simply wait out the dip. No forced selling, no locked-in loss. The month they retired stops mattering because they built in flexibility. That's the real answer hiding underneath the original question. The best month to retire is the month where your CPF gap is smallest, your cash flow cycle is lightest, and your portfolio has breathing room before you need to touch it. The worst month is the one where all three collide: a CPF gap, heavy upcoming expenses, and a forced withdrawal during a downturn. For most Singaporeans, that tends to make the first quarter, particularly January, one of the more challenging windows, purely because of that expense clustering right after bonus season. And months like April, July, or October, after major bill cycles clear and with more distance from expense clusters, tend to offer smoother transitions. But notice something important. This isn't a universal rule. It's a pattern shaped by your own bonus structure, your own bills, your own portfolio mix. The calendar is just the surface. Your personal cash flow map is the real answer. So here's the shift in thinking worth carrying forward. Stop asking, what month should I retire? Start asking, what does my money do in the 6 months before and after that date? Map your bonus timing, map your expense clusters, map how much of your income would depend on selling investments versus stable CPF payouts. Once you see that map clearly, the right month often becomes obvious on its own. And maybe that's the real lesson buried in this question. Retirement isn't a single date you circle on a calendar. It's a transition, and transitions go smoother when you control the terms instead of letting the calendar control you. The number on your CPF statement doesn't decide how smooth your retirement feels. The structure around it does. And the best time to build that structure is long before the month you actually stop working.
Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small money habit you're going to change after watching this video? Share it in the comments. I read everyone, and your idea might help someone else too. If you found this video useful, a quick like and subscribe really helps the channel reach more people who want to make smarter financial decisions. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me today. Until next time, keep building wealth one smart decision at a time.